Well, welcome to our daily reflections on the biblical perspective. And on day 2, we're going to be looking at the purpose of God's observations. The concept of God's watching over us can sometimes feel intimidating, especially when we imagine Him examining all our paths. But Proverbs 5:21 really sheds light on the beautiful truth that God's observation is not about scrutiny for the sake of judgment, but for the sake of guidance. It's comforting to know that He watches over every decision, every step we take, not with a critical eye, but with a loving concern of a Creator who wants the very best for us. And in our own lives, we can often face crossroads where we are unsure which path to take, and sometimes we can feel overwhelmed by the weight of making that right decision. And whether it's about the relationships, work, or even personal goals, it is in these moments that we need to be reminded that God's purpose in examining our ways is constant, present, and guidance are not meant to be to constrain us, but to help us flourish and avoid unnecessary pitfalls. And the thought that God sees the temptations and struggles that we are facing should reassure us that we are not navigating this journey alone. And the greatest peace is knowing that God's watchful eye is not there to catch us out in failure, but to guide us back when we start to stray. He is aware of the struggles that may lie ahead, and He knows they can affect us, but He also knows the way through them. This helps us to remember to seek His guidance more intentionally, especially in those areas where we tend to rely on our own understanding or where we feel most vulnerable to temptation. And instead of stubbornly walking down paths that lead us to frustration and confusion, we can pause and ask God to direct us. You know, one of the most significant areas where I personally need to seek God's guidance is in managing my time and priorities. It's easy to become distracted by good things while missing out on the best things that God has prepared for me. And I often find myself trying to juggle too much, and in doing so, I neglect the quiet moments of listening to God and allowing Him to lead me. His guidance is there, but I must be willing to trust and follow it. This verse also invites us to be open to God's redirection. And sometimes we can get too set in our own plans and paths that we resist God's gentle nudges to turn another way. But knowing that His watchful eye is always for our good helps us to release our grip on control. We know that we can trust that even when God redirects our steps, it's to lead us towards something better than we could imagine. So in reflections on Proverbs 5:21, we can be encouraged to invite God into every decision, every path we walk. We should not want to allow Him to lead us, knowing that His guidance is rooted in love and His desire to protect us from harm. The more we let go and allow God to examine our ways, the more confident we can become that He is leading us towards life and peace and not destruction.